folks. Fred Gleek here again with Bill DeWeese for the roundup of the week. So, Bill, it's Friday. How was your week?
Hey, Fred, I made $100 more this week than last week, so that's good.
Wow.
Did $5,300 this week.
Excellent.
So finishing the year strong. By the way, to put it in perspective, my goal was 250,000 this week, 50,000 or 5,000 a week,
Yep.
and Mallory was crunching the numbers. I need to make about $7,000 next week to hit that. Being Christmas week, last year we did like $500 on Christmas week, so we'll see what happens. But I'm within, it's within
Well, yeah.
striking distance.
Well, within the margin of error, too. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
within a few $1,000s of exactly $250,000.
Yeah, it was really close. So I mean, I couldn't be happier about that. So thought that you might find that interesting.
No, it is. And I mean, it's just another example of how I think everyone who is watching or listening should understand that there was a guy that I met years ago who was completely against goal setting. He was like an anti-goal setting guy.
Yeah.
Like I think he's got some site that has to do with no goals or whatever. And I think it's in a way, to me, it's a bit absurd because unless you have something that you're shooting for, how can you ever get anywhere?
Well, I agree. And I get I don't think you should become so tied up in them that you miss other opportunities, because sometimes there are things that kind of serendipitously happen that if you're not
Yep.
open to them, you won't experience. But I'm a firm believer that unless you have some sort of a goal, you're never asking yourself the right questions to figure out how to get where you want to go.
Yeah. And I mean, it's again, I think that if you're watching or listening this particular podcast or program on YouTube and you're just getting started, obviously you want to have very, modest and achievable goals.
Right.
Because if you set goals that are completely out of control, I mean, you remember when your goal was to make what, $500 a day or something, right?
$200 a day, 1,000 a week, 50,000 a year. Yeah. And had I had a goal to do what I'm doing now, $1,000 a day as opposed to a week, I would have frustrated myself and quit.
Yeah, you would have been discouraged and thinking to
Yeah.
yourself, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm not
Right.
competent. Yeah, so everything is step by step. I mean, it's just like all the actors that we see today all started, if you look at their careers, doing commercials or some other stupid bit parts. So it's
Right.
everyone's got to, very rarely does someone jump on the scene and jump to the top immediately. Just it happens, but it's extremely rare and not
Never to me.
Yeah, never to me.
I
Never
had
to
to
me.
claw my way. But it's been a good week, actually, a lot of work. On Monday, I did a computer virtualization tech narration. I did a surgical equipment narration, a new client I got through Voice 123 it's a European company, Foresight Elite. And it was for some conference where they went to present their stuff. An SME sourcing strategy training. There's a
Now,
syndicated
SME to me means subject matter
matter
expert.
expert.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that's what it meant in this case, because that's what it means to me too. And as I looked at it, I thought this is not what this is about. So I don't really understand it,
Got it.
but I read it as if I did.
It sounded very authoritative.
It was a really good narration, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
There's a radio program called Money Matters with Hanson McLean Financial Advisors. I record their commercials for that show. So I did a couple of those this week. Some Microsoft NAV training, a little narration for something called MedImmune, another medical thing, obviously, and then an infomercial as well. And I can't remember what it was. There's a company I do a lot of infomercials for, and I can't remember what this one was, but they're always just little gadget things.
Okay.
That was
And so
Monday.
that was your Monday.
That was my Monday. Yeah, it was a busy day.
And you say one new client came in there.
One new client, right? And that was, I think, my only new client for this week. At which I always like to get two. In this case, it was only one. Tuesday, I did some training for forecasting based on statistics, like financial forecasting. Something called MENA Business to Enterprise presentation. A lot of business stuff. Ericsson Cloud Management. I did some training for the state of Georgia for their hunters, the Georgia Hunter Education Program. You have to be certified. You have to go through and complete this course.
Now, these are anybody who has a hunting license. Is that?
Well, I think not anybody, as I understand, it's for like people under 16 or 18, and then seniors over like 60 or 62 have to actually go through this course.
Got it.
There was a local Ace Hardware radio commercial I did, and then training for industrial hazardous substances.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday was a little lighter, some diabetes management training for physicians, and I did a couple of regional commercials as well. And that was all for Wednesday. And then yesterday, I started a narration that was 13,000 words. It was a plumbing, piping, talking about proper plumbing piping techniques and when to use steel and when not to and all that kind of stuff.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
13,000 words.
Yeah, it's a little over an hour. It's like an hour, 20-minute finished audio.
It's funny that you say that because for me, doing a lot of speaking work, I have found that when I have taken a look at my recordings of my seminars, I almost exactly come out to 10,000 words per hour.
Yeah, me too for narration. That's funny. That's the baseline.
Yeah, so when you said that, I thought, I wonder if that's sounding like almost exactly 10,000 words an hour.
Yeah, that's how I judge it when a client asks. I always calculate it by 10,000
So
words
then
per hour.
how did you then price this job?
It was $20 per finished. Wait a minute, hold on a second. My standard rate is $20 per finished minute. In this case, I didn't get quite that much because it's an older client. I have grandfathered in at a lower rate, but it was charged per finished minute, and so
so that was 80 minutes.
Yeah, about 80 minutes. Yeah, of finished audio.
Right. So if you're charging them $10, it'd be 800.
Exactly. Yeah, and if I was getting the full 20, it'd be 1,600.
Right. So somewhere in between.
Yeah, well, yeah. So like right now, my new clients I bring on at $20 per finished minute. I have a lot of older clients, most of which pay $10 per finished minute. And so what I'm doing, as we've talked about before, as my plate gets too full, I'm dropping off some of those guys on the lower end. And then usually they offer to pay a little more, so it allows me to keep raising my rates, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was is that all of Tuesday?
That was Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. I'm sorry.
And no, I'm sorry. We started Thursday. I'm sorry. That was Thursday. And by the way, I started that yesterday and I finished that today. It was a lot. I did a little narration on fundamentals of water, understanding water, and also piping, plumbing, and water. And then operational functions in a system training. That was yesterday. Today, robotics and industrial setting, and then, training. And then performance management training. I did a little bit of work for the company Aramark. And then I just finished an on-hold script for National Car Rental for their, this time it was for Kalamazoo Battle Creek International Airport. I do like all the airport stuff.
I have flown into Kalamazoo.
Yeah, I've been there, but I've never flown in there. But anyhow, that's my week. I doubt that I'll have any more to do today. I don't know. We'll see. But I know there's more to do, but I'm going to try to put off till Monday what I can.
Got it. And so, and again, we may want to discuss, since it's, we're right near, we're a week away from Christmas. What happens for you in the voiceover business between now and the first of the year?
Yeah, well, historically, what I've done is I take off Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Christmas is that it's a global holiday. It's not just a U.S. Because whenever it's a U.S. holiday, well, my European clients and Canadian clients, they could care less. They could care less. I'm not thinking about that. So, but I've notified all my clients this year. What I'm doing is I'm taking not only Christmas Eve, which will be Thursday, and Christmas Day, Friday. I'm also going to take that Monday off, which I don't usually do. But we're going to try to travel to Ohio to visit my mom and Vicky's mom. So we'd like to have that extra day if we can.
Yeah, I mean, you are, the hardest working man in the voiceover business,
I tell you, it certainly feels that way sometimes.
And I would also bet that you are drinking more coffee than any other single person who does voiceovers.
More than any other person should, I know that. Plenty of it. It's funny, we have a coffee station in our kitchen, and we've got a basket that we have full of all kinds of, mostly Dunkin' Donuts variety, but we've got now like 3 varieties of Christmas coffee, and the coffee's always brewing this time of year here at the Dewey's house.
Nice.
Not really all the time, but yeah.
So again, what pearls of wisdom might we be able to pull out and extract for people at any level in the voiceover business?
Well, you just made reference jokingly about me being the hardest working man in voiceover. Well, maybe it wasn't jokingly, but along that line, I do believe I do work really hard, but I don't work any harder than I have to. I believe in not, anytime that you can do the same thing and work less or less hard, I'm all for that. And one of the things I've been thinking about lately, I've been noticing is that I'm not nearly as tired as I
Huh.
used to be. Like go back a couple of years ago in comparison, it's gradually become easier and easier for me. I used to get just physically beat and my throat would hurt.
Huh.
And I've come to the realization it's because of I'm better now at what I do and in my auditioning and in my performance skills. And one of the main things that I've shifted is instead of this higher pitched, intense, more broadcasting voice, I've evolved into this much more relaxed conversational voice. And the net result is that I don't tire out.
So, in other words, by not stressing, not creating this persona, this different person, by
Yeah.
being conversational and relaxed, it not only gets you more business and lands you more auditions, but you're less tired.
It's way easier. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And I did it without even realizing it because I worked in radio for 20 something years and everything was very pushed. But now that I'm taking this more relaxed and I'm becoming more comfortable with it, all of a sudden I realize I'm not nearly as physically, my throat doesn't hurt. And I don't, I don't feel like I'm beat up so much at the end of the day.
So, well, first off, I'm thinking of the analogy in acting to Jimmy Stewart, who, just never appeared like he was really acting, and actually it was super effective. But if you were to give the Bill DeWeese of Christmas 2015 advice to the Bill DeWeese of Christmas 2009,
Oh wow.
what would you say to that person?
I would say relax. I mean, the voice especially, and just dial it way. Here's what I tell them because I say this a lot to my students that I coach. Don't push yourself out to people, bring people into you. Because the paradigm I came from, I was always pushing myself out. And now I really focus on the idea of bringing somebody into the conversation, which is physically, it's a much easier thing to do. Mentally, it's harder, but physically, it's easier.
Yeah, well, that's great advice. And again, for those of you who are regular listeners and watchers, both the YouTube channel and the podcast, we probably won't be doing anything on Christmas Day. So we'll be,
That's a good plan.
and then I'm out of the country for a little while, but we will have one, I'm sure, probably before the end of the year, and then right after I get back from my break, which is from December 30th to
Sounds
January.
good.
So again, folks, thank you very much. Have a happy holiday season, and Bill, thank you very much for sharing with our listeners.
Thank you, Fred. Let me stop that.
So.